I'm so glad to be crushing on a man.
Thank you for having me.
I get asked that all the time, like, when are you gonna crush on another man? I'm like, I got one coming, don't worry. So glad you're here. So let's start out with, what do you do for a living?
I am a distributor of medical implants.
Okay, so
for
tell us
spinal
about
metal.
that, or what's the latest thing in that?
So spine surgeons, they're in the operating room. They put nut bolts and screws in. The simplest way to explain it is I'm the parts guy in the operating room for the orthopedic and neurosurgeons.
Wow, do you enjoy that?
Yeah, love it. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting career. No one wakes up in the morning, as a child, I want to be an implant sales rep. It's not
Like
a
a
career.
5-year-old doesn't say that in
it's
kindergarten
like, I don't want to
class.
be a medical implant rep. Yeah, it was just one of those careers you just somewhat, because most people don't understand that there is like a person in the operating room assisting the back half of the operating room, helping bring in the instrumentation and the hardware and the implant. So
That's
it's interesting.
amazing. But without you, none of it would happen. Or without what you do, none of it would happen. That's amazing. So, okay, I know you're an avid cyclist.
Mhm.
Let's talk about that. And I know you also played a role in the cycling lanes in downtown. Tell us about that.
Cycling is just, it's just been one of the big passions that keeps me out of trouble is what I told my wife. I said I could be an avid cyclist, I could be a crack addict, one or the other. It still takes
You
up
can't be both, I
still
guess.
takes up a lot of my time. So I come home from work, I change, and I get on my bike and spend like about 20 hours a week on a bike.
Really? Where do you go?
Well, that's kind of a scary part. So Monday through Fridays, I ride from downtown Houston. We go out past the Houston dump, go up by Lake Houston, past the airport, back around. It's about 50 miles.
So do you go on any big rides, like in Austin or events?
Just raced Chapel Hill this last weekend. There's
Really?
group rides, twice a week there's group rides in downtown Houston. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, usually big group rides, about 30 or 40 people. But
How'd you get into cycling?
I went cycling since I was like a little kid. And then you give it up when there's like that, you hit 16 because you're too cool to ride a bike anymore.
Yeah, I
And
used to
then-
ride a 10-speed with my arms like this, down
Exactly.
a hill.
Yeah.
I thought it was all
And
bad.
then you got
I
a driver's
fell.
license. And
Yeah, and then I
you're
got my
like-
drums.
And then you're like,
Screw the bike, yeah.
And then it's kind of a weird evolution. Most people come in, they'll get their driver's license, and then they go through college, and all of a sudden they hit their late 20s, and then they pick up cycling again.
Yeah.
Because
So
in
tell
the-
it- yeah, you probably did.
Yeah, so I'm a licensed amateur professional cyclist with the U.S. Cycling Association.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So I hold a professional cycling license.
Where's your favorite place to ride?
Oh, gotta be Salt Lake, in Utah.
Oh, where your lovely wife is from, yeah.
Lovely wife is from.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't beat the mountains and the canyons and the, yeah.
And they're probably really biker friendly there, like they are in Colorado.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, the bike lanes are the size of like regular, like car lanes.
Yeah, like in Colorado, it's like biker first.
Yeah.
So tell us about the lanes that we now see downtown Houston.
So the lanes you now see downtown Houston is a lot of cyclists. We petitioned and worked hard to get that done. Believe it or not, all that money that was raised to do that is from the companies that do illegal dumping. So any of the greenway money, any of the greenways and all the bike paths and the walkways, when a company gets fined for environmentals or illegally dumping material into the waste, they get fined a certain amount of money. That money is automatically dumped into the city fund for green,
Oh,
whatever
that's
they
nice.
call it green, whatever green environmental
Uh-huh.
stuff. So if they screw up the environment, they're fined, and that money goes to improving the environment.
Well, that's
So-
nice to know.
I
didn't know that.
Yeah, either did I. And so that was where a lot of it came from, and it's just pushing for the 3-foot rule, being aware of cyclists, because everybody gets irritated, everyone's tired driving in traffic, but
Right.
and unless you're a cyclist, you don't appreciate space and
Right.
understanding. You don't buzz by them with your rear view mirrors and.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, it's great, the downtown, and I don't know where else they've done it, but the lanes are really nice and it's great,
Houston's catching on. So stem cells is part of one of the products that I bring into the operating room.
Yeah, okay.
So what it is that they take the patient's derived stem cells, so it'll take bone marrow concentrate, we concentrate it down and pull out all the stem cells
From that patient?
from that patient. And so a lot of people think, embryonic stem cells, they think killing babies, all that stuff. No, it's not. They actually take the patient's own stem cells in the surgery, pull bone marrow out, we concentrate it down, we pull just the stem cells out, and then re-deliver it back into a small graft area. And it's like it's helping the body help itself heal.
And is that typically for spinal issues, or what else is that?
They do it for cardiovascular, they do it for sports medicine. I mean, it's just, you name it. It's like it's your own stem cells. They do it for plantar fasciitis, they do it for knees, ankles. I mean, they're doing it for shoulder rotator cuff, they're doing it for everything.
That's
So,
amazing. Is this sort of new, or has it been around a while and just not
you know, it's been around
understood?
for about 70 years. It's just not understood because when people hear the word stem cells, they always think the negative thing. The government approves this use of stem cells, they don't approve the use of growing stem cells. So if you take the patient's own stem cells, they call it point of sight care. So if you use the patient's stem cells at that point of sight, you're golden. If you bring them back and grow them in petri dishes in the labs, they're saying
It's a
no.
problem.
Yeah.
So what kind of results do you see when you treat someone with their own stem cells?
So it's just accelerating the body's healing process. So I mean, you know, when you're 12, you break your arm, your bone heals a lot quicker than when you're. It's
Right.
because you're higher concentration of stem cells. So if they imagine if you do that when you're 70, you can have big, huge lumbar fusions, or if you have any other injury, it helps the body heal itself quicker. So
That's really amazing.
yeah.
So I know you're a snowboarder, and tell us about the original snowboard.
So I was one of the original snowboarders in Colorado. So snowboarding started up in Burlington, Vermont, I believe.
Really?
And so that's where Burton and Sims came from. And so snowboarding used to not be allowed on the mountain.
Right.
So I was one of the first snowboarders they allowed in Colorado, in Breckenridge and Keystone. So I have one of the original Burton 165 cruiser snowboards. So
Unbelievable.
yeah, it's
Do you have it like framed and?
actually I can barely keep it out of the attic. My wife wants to throw it away, so I'm trying to keep it. It's in a bag in the garage. So
Oh.
yeah, it should be. You know, I should probably just.
Yeah, because I mean Burton, you know.
Yeah, it is. But I tried pulling it out the other day and comparing it to the new snowboards. You're like, wow.
Is there any like?
I mean,
how
it is like-
look different.
Well, this thing is like a steel rod.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's non-bendable, it's not flexible, it's just this huge, you know, it's heavy.
The original snowboard?
Yeah,
was?
yeah.
I bet that was hard to maneuver.
Well, no, at the time, I mean, that was the greatest thing,
You
because,
didn't know anything,
yeah,
right?
before, I mean, we used to turn skateboards around and take our skateboards and put bicycle tires, tubes, over your feet and nail them down.
Mm-hmm.
So you take the trucks off of your skateboard, you turn it around, you put bicycle tubes to hold your feet down, and you used to snowboard down like that, and you'd hold a string up, yeah. So, I mean, where it came from originally, that thing was like epic, so.
That's so funny. I can get on 2 skis and then that's all I can do. That's awesome.
So,
That's
yeah.
awesome. Where's your favorite place to snowboard? Probably in Colorado. or
So
Utah?
Loveland Basin in Colorado.
Where is that?
So when you're going up I-70,
Uh-huh.
if you look right up before you go underneath that tunnel and you see that ski resort,
Yeah.
that's Loveland
I've been
Basin.
under that tunnel a billion times.
Exactly, and nobody knows because Loveland
No.
Ski Resort is a little bit further past down the mountain,
Right.
but you have to take a special road and a special lift to get to Loveland Basin. If you look up, you know, you see those moguls and you ski, and you're like, oh, I wonder what ski resort that is.
Yeah,
It's
if
sitting
you're
right
getting ready
there.
to go into the
I don't
tunnel,
know,
so you
you-
focus on the tunnel.
Yeah, but if you look up, you're like, oh wait, there's a ski there. That's Loveland Basin. It is.
Is that the first tunnel or the second tunnel?
First one.
Getting to Vail. Oh, wow.
So that's why I love, because it's like one of those things like, oh man, we should really check that out, figure out, it's Loveland Basin. Everyone knows what Loveland is, but nobody
Yeah,
goes
I mean,
to Loveland
I
Basin.
didn't know.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's pretty cool to snowboard down and you're like checking out the freeway and yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, hey, I'm up here and you're stuck in there.
You're stuck in the car.
Yeah.
What was the other thing?
OBM.
Okay, so tell us about OBM.
So OBM is a new company that I started.
This is water.
Yeah.
But I know it's
Straight
water
up-
and stone.
straight up vodka.
Straight up.
So
Straight up.
OBM is a new company that I started about a year ago. It's OBM stands for outcome-based medicine.
Mhm.
So a lot of the Obamacare is mandating that evidence-based medicine is, you know, is where we're all headed. And so I came up with a company that allows physicians to track their patients' outcomes through web portals. I mean, the technology we have now is amazing with electronic. I mean, Bethy hashtag, I mean.
Couldn't get any more
I mean,
advanced
yeah.
than that.
I mean, hashtag Bethy Life hashtag. I mean, it is amazing what technology can do.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. So now we can allow the patient to help the physician. They come into the office, it's all done through iPads in the physician's office, and track their actual outcomes. Because a lot of, you know, patients do well, patients do, but nobody ever really tracks how the patients do.
Really?
Everybody's been into the doctor's office. Everybody knows they're busy. There's a lot of,
Right.
but there's no real way to track that patient's outcomes because the physician will track it if they pull up your chart.
Right.
but so that's that one physician. How is that physician, he can't share that information with the other
No.
1,600 other spine surgeons in his local
Uh-huh.
area.
So this is sort of a database for tracking the outcome of patients.
Yes.
That's amazing.
So,
Do you have any irrational fears?
yes.
You do?
I hate mayonnaise.
Wait, what?
Mayonnaise.
Oh, mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise. I cannot smell it, I
That's
can't touch it,
so
I cannot,
funny.
freaks me.
But some people hate mayonnaise.
I hate mayonnaise. Like snakes and mayonnaise. Yeah.
Like if you like see it.
It just makes me want to gag. I'm like, the smell of it. It's just, it's. You asked me, yeah. That's one of those weird. And I'm like, oh my god, this is disgusting. Like I don't even want it in the house. I don't even want it in the refrigerator in a jar. I don't know. Maybe it's just yeah. The smell of it. Just,
You know, there's some, I won't put this part in, but there's something on TV, I don't know if it's a commercial, I don't know what, I'm gonna look it up. It's kind of been around a long time, where somebody hates mayonnaise so much and they show it oozing out of everything, and it was on YouTube or something. I'll find it. It's really funny. Like, that's
Yeah.
really funny.
That's just yeah.
So, hold the mayo.
Literally hold them.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, so.
Yeah. So if you weren't in your present occupation, what else would you maybe be doing?
I would be a professional cyclist, full time, like trying to make a living racing bikes.
Really?
Yeah. Well, not really at that age. This age, I've been retired by now. And
You'd be a
then
former professional.
yeah, and then there
biker.
would be 2 retired athletes in the house instead of just 1.
That's hilarious. Welcome to the land of retired ballerina and
I know.
retired
I'm like,
cyclist.
little did I know that we would be retired at 30 and walking around with
Canes.
yeah, trying to collect our unemployment and our disabilities at 35 because we're yeah.
That's great. Well, thanks so much for coming in, Jeremy.
Thanks for having me
That's
here.
a wrap. Thank you.
We'll leave it at that.